There's a really funny thing that happens anytime we achieve something is that it's never really enough. Anything that we achieve, we're constantly looking towards the next thing. We want something more than what we just achieved. If we feel anything out of the achievement, it's usually short-lived. It might last a day, it might last a week, it might last a couple of weeks. But we get back into the grind and we're always searching for more. If that's where you feel like you are right now, there's actually 4 hidden patterns that are going on at a subconscious level that are really blocking you from feeling fulfilled for any of the achievements that you've made in your life in the past. And if you don't shift your perspective on them, they're going to do the exact same thing to everything that you achieve in the future. I'll break those 4 things down in this video, but before we get started, I want to be clear, this isn't a video that you're going to walk away with a tactical framework. Do thing 1, 2, and then 3, and then everything's going to be better. This problem isn't one that is really solved by tactics. This is a problem that's solved by perspective. So in this, if I can help shift your perspective, or at least open your mind to the possibility of a different perspective of the way you see yourself and the way you see the world around you, then that's going to open the door to feeling more fulfillment, which I'm going to have you consider that's ultimately what you were looking for every time you set out to achieve anything. It doesn't matter if it was a financial goal because you wanted to buy a dream car or a dream house or go on a dream vacation, or if it was the desire for achievement physically. Maybe you climbed a mountain or ran a triathlon. Those things, you wanted those because you wanted to feel a certain way. You wanted to feel successful, or you wanted to feel joyful, or you wanted to feel peaceful, or whatever it is you wanted to feel. You were attaching the achievement of whatever it is you were trying to achieve to that feeling. And that's one of the reasons why it can be so frustrating that every time you do achieve something, it feels hollow really, really quickly after it happens. And quickly, of course, is a relative term. I'm talking about the grand scheme of things. And if you've ever achieved something that felt big and felt meaningful while you were chasing it, you probably realized that that feeling of big and meaningful, it did go away a lot faster than you were thinking about that. So let's get into the first thing that's subconsciously happening every time we achieve a goal. And that's, we have a really good way of moving the goalpost on ourselves. When we achieve something, we think that's the goal line. But once we get to the goal line, almost every single time, we look at the next goal immediately, because what we realized was that reaching a specific goal didn't make us feel the way that we were really looking to feel. And so we decided, let's move the goal line out, because now that I've done this, maybe if I do that, then I'll start to feel the way that I wanted to feel. For me, I remember this very clearly when I was 26 years old and I was standing in the kitchen of our first house. My girlfriend, who's now my wife, was sitting there with me. And I remember talking to her going like, man, if I could figure out a way to make $250,000 a year, we would be set. Like, we would go on all these vacations, you wouldn't have to work, like all these things. This is what I was thinking when I was 26. Granted, this was a long time ago. $250,000 was way different then than it is right now. And then 2 years later, I made it. I'd started my company and just had the right meetings with the right people at the right time, and then magically did something that was crazy, which was I did what I said I was going to do. And we ended up making that amount of money in the next couple of years. And once I got there, I realized that it wasn't enough. It wasn't even close to enough. And so I moved the goalpost. I didn't even stop and have gratitude for myself for going like, wow, you really accomplished something that was big and significant at the time. But moving the goalpost on ourselves is one big way that we subconsciously limit ourselves from feeling fulfillment and joy in anything that we achieve, because we want to do more all the time. And we'll talk about more in a second. But before we get to more, I want to talk about the second thing in my little progression here. And it's the failure of recognition. We fail to realize that what we have right now in our lives, whatever that is, a house, a relationship, a job, or a company, or a music career, like whatever it is that you have, that was something you once wanted but didn't have. And we fail to recognize that because we're so focused on what's the next thing, or we're focused on what other people have, comparing ourselves to those people and wondering why we can't match up and have that same level for ourselves. So we forget that what we have right now is something that we wanted a long time ago. From the massive things like giant houses overlooking the ocean to the smallest things like just having a roof over our heads. Whatever that is, there was a time that you wanted what you have right now. But most often, we do fail to notice that. Again, because we're focused on the future and we're focused on this tyrant, and which is the third thing I want to talk about, which is the tyrant of more. So I look at more, like the idea of wanting more, like a tyrant. Because what do tyrants do? Tyrants will typically control us. They'll tell us what we need to do, and then they'll force us to go do that. So if we look at ourselves and our own psyche as the tyrant in this, always driving for more, what does it do? It constantly controls the way that we think. It controls the way that we act, and it controls what we do. And so with each one of those things, it really turns into a tyranny when we think about the process of wanting more. There's always that extra thing out there. There's always that extra achievement that we tell ourselves, hey, we're going to need that. We're going to need that. And if we get that, then we'll ultimately get this feeling that we want to have because we misshot it entirely. And the reason we misshot the idea of achievement doing anything is because we attached the specific achievement to the feelings that we wanted to feel. And we said, hey, if we achieve this house or this relationship or this vacation or this job or career or whatever, then I'm going to feel this way that I want to feel so desperately. And then we get there and we say, you know what? Maybe this isn't the thing that we really wanted to achieve because I don't feel this way. And what that must mean is not, hey, wait a second, it's not achievement tied to a feeling that I'm ultimately looking for. It's a different level of achievement. You may buy a car that you've wanted since you were 14 years old. You get the car and it's cool for a little bit, like 10 days, then 10 weeks go by and it's still all right. 10 weeks later, or 10 months later, it's just the way that you get to work. But you still keep going. You still want to achieve more because you think that that next achievement is ultimately going to give you that feeling, not recognizing that tying a feeling to an achievement never works because the achievement itself is external to you and therefore transient. It's going to go away. It's not going to stay and be the same thing over time. Brand new cars that you see in the showroom that you can't possibly imagine living without turn into the way that you get to work. So realizing that, it helps you have this next magical thing. And this is where everything starts shifting. It helps you start realizing that the more gratitude you have for the things that are currently in your life, the more fulfilling the things in your life become. There was a statement that I heard, and I wish that this was my own, but I heard this in a guided meditation once, is that with gratitude, nothing can feel like everything. And without gratitude, everything can feel like nothing. And as soon as I heard that, I thought, that is the absolute truth. Because when we're grateful for what we have becomes a lot more meaningful. It becomes a lot more like purposeful when we have that sense because we're expressing gratitude to ourselves for all the things that we've done to accomplish whatever station in life we have at that moment, wherever we are on the progression. Finally getting a roof over your head to having, a $25 million house overlooking the ocean. Doesn't matter. It's the same feeling, regardless of the level of outwardly achievement. It's still the same feeling. Everything that you have in your life right now, I'll have you consider, becomes boring and ordinary simply because there isn't enough gratitude intentionally paid to it. And that's not your fault. It's human nature. It's what we do. Every single thing that you do is you're extraordinary. And other people look at that and go like, oh my goodness, I don't know how that person does that. Because it's normal and ordinary for you, just like everything that you have in your life right now. And so if you can get to an intentional level of gratitude, it shifts an internal conversation and an internal monologue that you're having all the time. And it's really the difference between scarcity and abundance. So picture without gratitude and thinking I need to achieve more in order to feel the way that I ultimately want to feel. That's really asking yourself the question of what's missing. What's missing from my life that if I just had this, and this having it doesn't need to be a material thing. It can be having some relationship. It can be having some sense of inner peace. Like it could be whatever. But if I just have that, then I'll feel this way. That's a scarcity mindset. It's saying I don't have this right now, and I need to go figure out a way to get this and put forth whatever effort I need to in order to feel this way that I want. So ingratitude and the feeling of wanting more all the time, that is a mindset of scarcity. The mindset of abundance asks a different question, which is what's meaningful right now? What's going on in my life right now that maybe I'm not as grateful as I could be for, that actually has a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning and a lot of good things that are delivered to me in my life? That's an abundance mindset because you're looking at everything you have and thinking how amazing it is, realizing that it's something that you used to want. Remember, everything you have right now, you once wanted it. It was a goal. You achieved the goal. I'm guessing, like most people, like me, there isn't enough time that we stop to achieve, like to revel in the achievement and revel in the amazement of like, wow, we actually did that. Instead, what we do is we go like, on to the next. We're moving the goalpost. We're moving it along because our actions and our thoughts and our feelings, they're driven by that tyrant that we call more. He just happens to live in our head. And to eradicate that, to get that completely out so we can start to feel fulfilled. So you can start to feel fulfilled by the achievements that you have without this tyranny, this oppression of always wanting more and feeling like it's never enough, is simply gratitude. It's not cliched. It's not too simple. Even if it sounds too simple, gratitude is the thing that will make you feel more fulfilled based on every single achievement you've ever had and every achievement you're ever going to make. But you have to be conscious about it and you have to be intentional about it because it's not normal behavior. As crazy as it is, it's not normal behavior for us to think we should be grateful about this. So I mentioned at the start of this video, this wasn't about a tactical framework. You weren't going to come into this and then walk away with this perfect little box that if you just implement this box into your life, everything's going to be better. This was about a shift in perspective. And the best way to shift your perspective isn't for me or anybody else to do it for you, because anytime we're told what to do, there's this natural level of resistance. I've found the best way that I can get myself to shift is by asking a question. So I'll close this out by asking you a question. And when you get the answer to this question, it will lead you to an action that is probably going to be simple, and it is going to lead you more towards fulfillment. And the question is just, is more serving you or are you serving it? Once you answer that question, it'll tell you exactly what to do. The trick here is to think of the smallest possible action you can take to start implementing whatever answer it is you got from that question. If we tend to think in broad terms, like I need to do something big, then we'll just analyze it all day and we'll never take action. So think about the smallest possible action you can take to implement what we talked about here in this video. And I promise you, step by step, you will find a greater degree of fulfillment. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.